Hello and welcome to my spoiler talk for Resident Evil 2. This is where we can talk about anything and everything when it comes to Resident Evil 2. So you know what that means. Spoiler alert is in effect right now. If you do not want spoilers, please go away, go play the game, come on back, and so we can talk about this game 100%, and I'm not spoiling anything for you. That also means in the comments below, there is no limits to what we can talk about. I may not cover everything about the game in the spoiler talk, so if you have things you want to bring them up in the comment section, and we'll have a conversation about it. Now, if you want to watch a review of my game, of the game Resident Evil 2 that is non-spoiler, I'll have a link to my review in the video description below. And again, that's non-spoiler. You can watch that and go play the game and then come watch the spoiler talk. So let's just get this started right away. We're just going to get right into this thing. So something I wanted to mention that I totally forgot. I even had it in my notes. I was like, it's been a while since I've done reviews in that and getting used to looking at my notes and talking to you guys on camera. I missed on one little section that I did want to mention, and so I'll mention it right here. And it's about the element of taking that from Resident Evil 3. They took the element of gunpowder and using that to craft your own ammo, and they put it in Resident Evil 2, this remake. And I really liked a lot that they did that. You know, it helped involving more strategy in the game. It helped players that were veterans of the game, understanding of how to use your lesser weapons, less powerful weapons like the pistol and stuff, or you to get ammo for that if you needed it, for people that are inexperienced, or for people experienced like myself, where I know how to use that ammo efficiently, that you could just save up and get better ammo in the future. And it kind of allows you to make a choice. And I like that. It creates a strategy and also works in correspondence in parts of the game, like the part where you have to go get the queen and the king plug. There's that part you have to pass through, and that's really tricky because in that part itself, you have to basically stock up on a bunch of ammo, and you have to be able to do that. So I liked the strategy that it involves with the gunpowder, and I think it just added a whole element to the game itself that just made it even better. So let's get to the more spoilers parts now. So when I was talking in my non-spoiler review about how the characters, when I was talking about the voice actors, that they were doing a good job of what they had in front of them in regards to the writing and the content, and we're going to go really more deep into the story now. And you know, I think it was really struggling. The story itself was struggling between being cheesy like the original and being more serious like this one was trying to be. That they kind of mixed the two. And you know, there's just cheesy moments that when you're trying to be a serious story and try to tell a serious story, and then all of a sudden you add cheesy moments into it, it doesn't really work. It feels so out of place. And if you're going to go cheesy, you got to go full cheesy, because then we know like what you're going for when you're going full cheesy. So unfortunately, it was being serious, and then there was just moments that was really cheesy that it just didn't feel like it worked. And an example, the end of the game, the dialogue at the very end, and this is after the second run, the very, very end of the game, where Claire, where Sherry was talking about both of them being a boyfriend and girlfriend, and that they can, you know, they're going to get a place, and they're going to get a dog, they're going to adopt her, and it's like, what? Wait, you just got out of this place that your mom dies in front of you. There's this giant creature thing. You got infected with a virus. Like, it just is so, that example, cheesy. It's just cheesy. And if it was cheesy throughout the entire thing, that would work. But it was being more serious in this game, and the cheesiness, the ending just didn't work in that aspect. And that's one of many examples. I'm not going to go over all, but this is just what to prove my point that, you know, you can't throw in cheese when you're trying to be serious. You know, if you're going to go cheesy, go full cheesy. And either way, if they were going to go full serious, I would have appreciated it. If they went full cheesy, I would have been down for that too. You know, it works. You just can't go both ways, unfortunately. So, also with that cheese, there were moments where a lot of characters or moments felt really underdeveloped, and either because of how the cheesiness was, or sometimes there's just a moment that just is underdeveloped in general. An example, when Ada and Leon's relationship, that was a big one for me when when they kissed on the train going to the lab, not the train, but the whatever the thingy was that takes you to the lab. I don't know what you would call it. But anyways, when they were kissing on it, it was really weird. It just didn't feel like they had a proper bond of a relationship between the two. In the in the first game, in the original, the relationship developed more. But I know you people right now are gonna go in the comments and start typing, well, she was a mercenary and she just wanted him to do what she wanted him to do, and she was just doing whatever felt great in the moment that he wanted. And it's like, but like they didn't form a proper bond, and on top of that, like based off of the next games that are already out, they have a bond of some kind that's like a type of relationship. And so it's not that easy to just say, well, they don't mean anything to each other, blah blah blah. They do. Like in the games, there's clear flirtation. You can see Ada being really heartstruck in moments of where she's like, I really care about him, but I have a job to do. Job's number one, but I really care about this person. And so she wouldn't just kiss him and go, oh, I didn't feel anything. And he would have not just let her kiss him if there wasn't a bond, and there just wasn't enough moments together. And I think what have fixed it, and what they did in the original, which worked, was there were many moments where you had gameplay together, where you were going through different parts and fighting the undead together. That is a way to create a bigger bond. There was more scenes where they talked to each other, or where things happening around them that they could bond over more. There were less scenes in this remake in regards to how bonding of relationships between all the side characters, in regards to that's Claire and Sherry, and that's Leon and Ada. There were less scenes and less moments for them to kind of bond with the other character. And so that was just a big moment where it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel like it was developed enough and really worth it. And if they did more scenes together, that could have fixed it. But what they had before me didn't work. I also wish they had some more files in regards to covering more of the different characters to get them a little bit more developed. I think they did a great job in leaving some of the original files that were in the game, adding some files that describe a little bit more, including talking about how the police station's a museum. I think that was great. But I really wish an example like Chief Irons, when they had files all over the place in the original game that talked about his demeanor and what was going on, and the secretary was keeping a diary about what was going on with it, and she's like, oh, he won't let me touch these artifacts, blah blah blah. But in the end, it led to something and added more to his character, where he was just underdeveloped. He was a stereotypical man that basically was capturing a girl, and we didn't know 100% of all his motives. That was probably the hardest part of me trying to relate to what Chief Irons was doing. Is I didn't understand what he was doing, because there was they took more time to explain, like in his scenes with Sherry, of him when Claire and him were on the phone and he hung up and there was a moment where he was in a scene. If he probably like explained something going like, oh, well, I have you now, so I'm going to get blah, blah, blah once I give this to so-and-so, or whatever the goal was. I have no idea what his intentions were, which didn't help his motivation on understanding him as a character. Wish they did that more. Again, underdeveloped a little bit, but not too bad. And so he was just more one-dimensional. Now, I can finally talk about the second run. So I talked a tiny bit in my non-spoiler about the second run, and just I loved the gameplay. I loved everything about the second run except for the story. And I couldn't link up and tell you exactly what they were in my non-spoiler because I didn't want to spoil the game. But the example I use is you fight Birkin, the same Both characters fight Birkin the same way, in the same form, and somehow it's supposed to be happening at the same time. And where story-wise, it just makes no sense at all. Like, zero sense. An example would have been when when you're in the laboratory and you're facing Birkin one of your, I think it was the second to last time, and you're in the laboratory and she comes out and she starts shooting with the, whatever it's, freeze bullets or acid bullets, can't really tell 100%, but somehow with each character, after you fight him, something happens and Annette's either laying dead in front of Sherry or she's shooting Ada. Like, you can't have them both happen at the same time because she's bleeding somewhere, and there's no way they're happening at the same time, which was just so disheartening because it's like, oh. So I was like, I'm not going to be a complainer all the way. I'm going to come up with solutions. So here's what I would have, here's some suggestions that I would have suggested. Like, they're not full fleshed out ideals. I know that 100%. But at least I'm giving some feedback, I'm not just going to say, hey, this didn't work. I usually try to give a response of, this is how you could do it better. And instead of, so an example, not for that exact scene, just because that's way too complicated, I'm going to use the example of the first fight with Birkin, where you could fight Birkin twice. I think that is totally fine. Here are the differences, though. So when you go under that statue and you fight Birkin for the first time, maybe the first character does exactly what they did before, and Birkin's at that same stage. And then for the second character, so when in both scenarios, you go to the same location, he knocks you off the same platform, the platform breaks the same exact way, and then you fight Birkin. Well, what if you, as the second character, when you're on your second run, go there, see that part of the bottom part destroyed, so you'd have to jump down because the way to jump across is blocked, that you jump down and Birkin climbs up from falling over from before, and then he transforms more. So you see another phase of his transformation. Yeah, you're fighting in the same location. Yes, you're fighting the same enemy, but here's just a slight difference in how you fight him. And you can include more stages of his development, where in the original, you fought a lot more stages of his development, and you kind of fought different stages based off which run you were doing and which run you were doing. Is you were fighting completely different stages every time you faced him. This would be an example where you could fight a whole new stage, still be in the same area, which is totally fine. Again, like the gameplay stuff, I can look past that in regards to just logistics. It's hard to kind of make it really new for someone to be able to go through a space and have all these doors just be unlocked. The game would go by so quickly, and I get that. But it would offer a new, fresh take in regards to having a different William you're fighting. So that's a little bit more interesting. So something like that can be something that could have improved it on the first one. And another thing you could do that I thought of is in the first run, so whether you fight, whether you're getting the antidote or the sample, as the first person, maybe you don't fight Birkin when you're in the lab. Maybe you run into like Mr. X or something, and you do something special with Mr. X for a little bit, and that's how Annette dies. And then maybe Leon reads a document or something about Ada, and that's how he finds out about Ada. So then Annette dies in front of Sherry. You could do that as well. And then obviously the second fight would be Annette. The second fight, the second run would be fighting Birkin in the lab. So, there's different ways you could do it. And it would just make, this thing was the one thing that stopped this game from being a perfect remake. Because this is one of the biggest elements of Resident Evil 2 that people really like and really love, and what makes the game special. I don't expect them to make two completely different stories, but at least do the second run and give it justice. So that's my only suggestion for that. Now, I do want to talk about some changes they made from the original that I absolutely loved, or I had some suggestions about. Most of them, I love them. First, I have to talk about Annette. I love what they did with Annette. They made her a character that is just not cliche. It was really well done. It was one that it's all about her work. She's lost in the work. She loves science, and you can tell she has a love for it, and is trying to do her best to do what is best for the greater good. And with that, you have to sacrifice personal. And it is so refreshing as a female character to have this element, because usually this is the male character. This is the male character, and people don't make excuses for that. Looking at some spoiler reviews, some spoiler talks, and other things like that, people have complaints about Annette. But I see it as, most of the time when it's a male character in this aspect, they don't judge it as harshly as they do if it's a female character, because the female is more seen as the one that loves takes care of the family and those kinds of stereotypes. And, the moment she really has an internal struggle where it's between her curiosity in science about William and how he's developing and how the virus works and what is so great about it. And then with her final understanding of how powerful he has become, that she needs to do what it takes to eliminate him. And when she understands how destructive of a force he is, and when she gets to that point to understand that, and then understands Sherry's in danger, she has to make a choice. And it's so hard. It is hard. We always want to help the ones we love. But if it's putting the ones we love in the greater good, and she's a scientist. Scientists think with math. They think through the bigger picture. And it's like, do I save the one I love, or do I save the greater good? And most scientists would say, they would try to do their best. But if you had between the two choices, most scientists would usually pick, it's the greater good of humanity. I need to save humanity. If I don't save humanity, my daughter and I are doomed anyways. So I think that was just truly amazing to see that struggle between that. And then it was such an earned moment when she died in front of Sherry. And she talked about she just like science was her biggest love. And unfortunately, when she was dying in front of Sherry, she realized as well as I didn't make Sherry my biggest priority, and maybe that's what I should have done. So it's so curious to see that dilemma going within her. And it was just a really good character overall. I like that arc compared to the original, where she definitely cared about Sherry. She definitely cared about her research. This one put a lot more complexity behind her, Annette. So many scenes you could tell of what was happening with her and the struggle with her. It's just so amazing. It was a great character. I loved Annette. Great character. I also liked Marvin. I liked Marvin a lot, being a part of the journey. And he was being more part of the journey compared to the original. And, I liked that because in the original, he's just there and then he's turned and then he tries to kill you. Where here, it's a slow burn. And if you play the original, obviously you're like, okay, when's Marvin going to turn? Like kind of looking around every now and then going, oh, you're still alive? Okay, we're good. But it's more of a sad moment where, in the original, they try to make it emotional when you see Marvin the second time, but then he turns fully into a zombie and then tries to kill you. It's not as earned because you only have one quick scene with him that's like 3 minutes long. Where here you have multiple scenes. He's talked about his struggles. You've talked about your struggles. And it's a little bit more emotional. And to be honest, I felt kind of bad and I kind of apologized a little bit before I blew his brains out, unfortunately, with my shotgun. I had no choice. I felt a little bad. I did apologize before I did it, but you just had a little bit more emotional moment with him, and it's great. And I also liked how it was a transitional moment that all of a sudden you peer by him and all of a sudden you can hear him make the zombie noise and you're like, oh crap, he's turned. I need to get rid of this guy. Another thing I liked how Leon was much more developed as a character than when he was in the original. In the original, he's more of your cop. That's just like, I'm an officer, I'm doing what's best. Now in this one, they kind of and I love how they facilitated with the gun shop to bring out this moment in him that kind of really explains why he did why is he turning in, why is he doing being a cop, why does he want to help Ada stop Umbrella, and why is he so determined to do something like this. And that just, it was a great cameo by the gun shop owner too. It's a great moment, kind of earned all at once. And it was just a great moment for him to kind of say, I don't want things like this. And he's referring to what happened with the gun shop owner and being like, things like this is the reason why I do what I do. Things like this is why I want to stop Umbrella. And it really gave you a bigger motivation overall on why you're motivated to complete the task before you, why you're determined to help Ada. Now, again, the relationship is not really experienced as well, but your determination to finish the overall objective as a soldier, as a cop, is really into it. And pairing that with Ada as being an FBI agent is perfect. Of her faking to be an FBI agent, is so that he's kind of, he opens up a little bit better in that regard, because as an FBI agent, well, at least he thinks she would understand that why he's doing what he's doing. Maybe if you were an FBI agent, you would be having similar motivations. And that was just great. I liked that overall. Another little thing I have to say is the alligator part. Great. So unexpected. I completely forgot about the alligator, which was just and while things were happening, I thought that was Tyrant at first, and then I thought things were just going so weird. I did not understand what's going on, but I love the running part. It's a great, I like it because it's an awesome foreshadowing of going, hey Leon, get used to it. Get used to this, because you're going to be running a lot like this away from boulders in Resident Evil 4. So I liked that a lot. I liked how they kind of, in a remake, even though Resident Evil 4 is currently made, they made a shout out to Resident Evil 4 that hey, this is gonna happen to you in the future. And I think they used the gasoline pipes. That worked great in regards to how you eliminated it. Oh my gosh, the explosion of its whole mouth coming apart is just as satisfying as it was when it happened in the original. So it was really cool to see. I really liked that. They really took their time, and it just looked great overall. I did not feel out of place. It was excellent. Now, for Ada and Sherry, I talked about how you didn't really have developing moments with enough development with each character, so I'm not going to talk about their characters because there's not really much in development, but I do like playing as both characters and how both characters play differently. I love that as a step up from the original. The original, they both played very similar. Ada had a pistol, Sherry didn't. I mean, similar here. But they both were doing the same exact objective, getting the same exact puzzle piece. Here they were doing two completely separate things. Sherry, you're hiding from a man, and man, dude, they did that great. The tension in those moments were awesome. Her internally talking to herself, going, gotta hide, gotta hide, gotta hide. The darkness, I think it was thundering and lightning out or something like that at the same time, and it's just the lighting, and it was all just perfect in regards to feeling like you were feeling like that little girl. The tension of this man that is super strong and you are super weak to get you. I think that was just great. It was well done. And from the moments of hiding to the moments of running, both felt so much tension. I loved it. I loved it. It was great. And Ada's moments were great too. Kind of adding to her super spyness, they give her that new gadget that can kind of activate switches and stuff like that. And adding Mr. X to the mix it was cool as well. And she had some elements in her that made her feel different as a character as well, which I absolutely appreciate. Now, I also found how they told the story of how the incident occurred. I loved how they did it in this game. It's a way of again, like this entire game, really, this entire game is all about, they've taken some things, they copied some stuff from the original and updated it. They've taken some elements, they reimagined it, yet still staying true to the original. And I love it. And this is just another amazing example of how they took the ideas of the original and just updated it, changed it slightly without losing of what the importance of it was or the amazing elements about it. Instead of having a net from the original tell you what happened and you see all these cutscenes of what happens, picking up these tapes and seeing from the soldiers' perspectives on how they got the virus, how they fought Birkin, how the virus got spread, it was just really cool. And also when they jumped in, when they went to go get the vial from him, was just amazing. Loved it. It was cool. It was like, it felt great, And I think the even better part was seeing how when each character watched it, they saw it from their perspective and they gave their own feedback based on how they saw it. So like an example was when one of them saw it, I don't remember which one off the top of my head, I believe it was Leon, is when he saw when they were fighting Birkin and saw that the rats were drinking up the virus, he's like, oh, that's how they spread, through the rats and through the water system. And so each have their own commentary from their own point of view, which helps just add dimension to their character. And I know I don't have anything on Claire on this section. It's just because she didn't stand out as amazing. She didn't stand out as horrible. She was just, they did her just fine. Nothing changed from her really in the original. And I think nothing really changed, which is the reason why she really isn't mentioned very much compared to where Leon has a lot more beefiness to his character and more relatable moments because he has, an adult to talk to compared to where Claire has a child and the child is knocked out for over half of her experience with her. So she really doesn't have anyone to develop with. So it just works out better that way. So I've had so much fun playing this game. I've beaten this game probably 4 to 5 times already. I've already unlocked all the stuff. I beat it on hardcore mode. And when I beat this 4 to 5 times, I beat it within like the first week of the game. I beat it probably 2 to 3 times within the first weekend I had it. And I've gotten all the unlimited ammo, and it is so much fun playing with a rocket launcher. Just saying, you can get that through that game so quickly, but it is so much fun just going, leaving nothing alive with a rocket launcher. It is great. And, I also have, I almost platinumed it. I got only 2 things I have to do left if I want to platinum it. So I think I will go back and platinum this game. So even though I have these issues that are on the top and we talked about them and they're more towards the beginning, I still love this game. I think this game is great. I think this game is a game of a year contender. Absolutely. And I hold by what I stand is I want this to be the next Resident Evil. I want the next Resident Evil to contain all these elements, improve the story, obviously, and if they're going to do more than one character, make sure they cross over. But I like these elements, and it shows that these elements still work in the modern age, that they're not outdated. The zombies are just so complex that it changes up the game completely, yet still keeping it fresh like the original. So I am just at awe of what they have done with this game. I did not know what to expect when they first announced this, but seeing what they have done, if they don't do it like this for the next game, and I saw that they had hinted at it when they were doing Resident Evil 7, they contained some of these elements in it, and being in first person and a couple other things that they've changed, but they did more puzzles, and those kinds of things. I really want them to try to take this element and put it into the next game and see what happens, because I think this is a great complementary element that needs to go into the next game. And this is what Resident Evil is. And you can tell by the reviews and how people have like this, is that this type of gameplay is not outdated and it is still relevant and people will still play it and enjoy it. So that is my spoiler talk for Resident Evil 2. What do you think about the game? Again, let me know in the comments below. There are no spoilers. So, I mean, it's a spoiler-free, spoilers galore, sorry, that you can talk about anything in the game. I know I didn't talk about everything, but if you want to have a conversation about certain elements that we didn't discuss, feel free to put it in the comments below and then we'll have a discussion about it. If you like this video, check out the videos I have on freeze frame rate here on the channel. Go ahead and give it a like, share it with your friends, and if you want to keep up with the content I release each and every week here on the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Mitch, and I'm signing off saying, see you soon.